X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach, and Adam, welcome to another day in paradise.
Bum, 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 bum. That's a sad song. I mean, it's great. I like Phil Collins, but man, that's a depressing one.
Don't even know what you're talking about right now. Don't even know what you're talking about. Peter Gabriel was the better member of Genesis, so I'm lost.
I'm just gonna ignore that you said that.
Hey, Adam. Do you know what? Do you know what?
What?
He can feel it coming in the air tonight.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Oh man. That is a podcast I'd love to do, a Phil Collins podcast. Like,
don't even care about Genesis at all if I'm being realistic.
No, is go with his solo work and then like work up to the fact that he's like a really like intense Civil War history buff.
Okay.
That'd be a fun little quest to go. I wonder if there's something. Anyway, we're talking about JoeMad this week, right?
Yeah. That's very related to everything we're talking about. JoeMad is the creator that we are going to be talking about today in honor of the re-release of the remake of Final Fantasy VII, now available on your PS5s, 4s, whatever. I don't have one.
Yeah. Wasn't there some Battle Chasers thing that was eventually going to come out too?
Oh, who knows?
I don't know. I thought I read somewhere that they were going to finish that, or I don't know.
JoeMad, if you're listening, I really, really, really hope you enjoy, using Avalanche to take down the Shinra Corporation. You can do some cool flips with your materia. Probably, I guess this I don't know, because it's pretty much just like the first chunk of the game before you get to the overworld map. Which is not a lot of story if we're being real. And like you can't even summon all of the good summons at that point. So what's the point? Also, you don't get Sid or Yuffie or Vincent Valentine, the Gambit of the Final Fantasy VII team. So who cares?
I mean, the gag here is that JoeMad played a lot of video games and didn't have enough time to keep drawing them, drawing comics.
Yeah, JoeMad had to stop. JoeMad was late on so many comics and essentially lost his career because he kept playing video games so much, and then he just drew a bunch of stuff for the PSX PlayStation magazine, which may have been a better long-term career choice. That's
fine. That is fine, and. We're gonna touch upon a couple different little places in his career here, which I think are pretty cool. So where does this first request come from?
This first request comes from Patreon supporter Chris Palmer. Chris went over to patreon.com/XavierFiles and he said, "Y'all, you're great. I want some of that sweet ASMR content." Like, you hear that, Adam? You hear that?
What are you drinking
ASMR
tonight?
Content? That's a margarita. Using some of James Buffett's own Margaritaville tequila.
I hear that you set up Margaritaville as your anthem on Animal Crossing?
Yes, anytime I do anything to anyone in Animal Crossing, it goes dun 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 dun.
That's great.
Yeah, it's very good. There's a margarita on our town flag, too. Y'all, check out my Switch code if you want to go visit my island called Margarita. I bet Chris Palmer does, because Chris said, guys, you know what goes great with Margarita? Real strong and energetic anime-style art from the 90s, much like you'd find in Uncanny X-Men 326, The Nature of Evil.
The Nature of Evil. Or as the cover refers to it, Evil Natures. this is really kind of peak original JoeMad here, right? I mean, this is kind of like post-Phalanx Covenant. We've got Sabretooth living in the Danger Room. Gambit is really dropping a lot of hints that he's not a good guy. And we get a conflict between the two of those characters in this issue.
We do. Scotty Lobbs, he writes this one. And this is post Age of Apocalypse. This is post Wolverine schnickting Sabretooth's brain, so he went to a more feral state. And Remy's not happy with Sabretooth. Remy doesn't like that at all. As we will later find out, Remy was involved in the Mutant Massacre and has just gotten done with, like, Rogue essentially super dumping him because she knows about all the bad things he did, but not everybody does. And she doesn't really know what. She just knows it was super bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not going to find out really what happened till like 25 issues after this. But at this point, we know Gambit did a super bad, and
Gambit did a bad.
He did a bad, and Sabretooth, obviously was part of that, and he just wants to kick some Sabretooth around, and good thing that Sabretooth is hanging out in the Danger Room, because that's what he's going to do.
And he's going to do it not just physically, but on the deeper level. He's going to do it emotionally by making Sabretooth relive all of these murders, including of Birdie, including of that one nice priest from X-Men Unlimited #3, just a bunch of murders, and making this nice, calmer Sabretooth who's more like a dog than a human relive all these and be like, you suck, Sabretooth. You really do suck. And then Storm says, Gambit, come on, man. That's crappy. Don't do that.
Right. You're doing villain stuff. Why are you doing villain stuff? And, it is kind of an interesting scene because at the end of it, there's this repeating loop of the X-Men Unlimited scene where Sabretooth says, oops. And once everybody leaves the Danger Room, Sabretooth is sitting in his cage and he says, oops. And you don't know, like, is Sabretooth coming back to his senses? This didn't help anything. It probably hurt the situation much more than it did any good.
Yeah, Gambit did a bad, guys, in several ways, both ethically and just in, strategy.
The competing ethical quandary here is is that Beast is addressing the world medical community about the legacy virus, and Professor X is going to his plot is to really diminish Beast's research publicly to say that it's no big deal. And let me tell you, people, reading this particular issue with this particular scenario of
it's
Professor
Corona
X's,
times, people in the future. It's Corona times real deep right now. We're living with the Rona right now, so this is not great.
No, it was a lot to read this little denial here, this little public denial.
It actively makes me angry. I don't like this one. I don't like reading the X-Men plotting to misinform the scientific community and public well-being for their own selfish benefit. Right now, that's a little too close to home.
Very on the nose, and not what I was expecting. I had forgotten about this particular
totally
subplot.
Forgot about this one. Yeah. Chalk this one up on both Beast and Xavier's list of crappy things they did. Yeah,
and this leads to a conversation between Beast and Professor X about, what his goals are with Sabretooth and whether that's sort of noble or whether, Sabretooth is just a criminal who needs to be put away. It's fine. Lobdell likes to get on these sort of like, moral conversation things every once in a while, and it works, I guess. But the part about the legacy virus is like, what? Okay.
Yeah, that's rough to read nowadays. Luckily, nowadays, we just decided to put Sabretooth in a hole. We said, you go here now. This is where you live.
You live in an exile pit. So since, we're doing a JoeMad episode, what do you think of JoeMad's artwork?
JoeMad draw some chunky boys.
His beast has like shoulders as broad as a Mack truck. It's pretty wild.
Everyone's huge. Everyone's ginormous. Professor X is jacked. Just everyone's big. And here's the thing. I'm not a huge JoeMad guy. Like, I understand that he was very popular and I can get the appeal, but also he's not for me.
Okay.
It's a little too angular, a little stylized in a way that I don't like, which is odd because there's guys that are definitely, influenced by or by the same influence as JoeMad, like Humberto Ramos, that I really do like. But there's a little bit something different in that versus the like sleeker, shinier JoeMad art that I don't know, just doesn't hit for me.
Okay. I mean, JoeMad wasn't an artist that I was particularly into, like, reading these as they came out, but, like, in retrospect, I really like his stuff. And I can see a direct line between, like, what he's doing here and then kind of the influence that this has on where, like, Chris Bachalo goes with his stuff. He's definitely made a mark because there's so many other artists that used these... this template of how to draw the characters in the future. So
for me,
I like it quite a bit.
It's very weird for me going from like the Image guys and the Kuberts and JRJR and people of that nature, and then jumping into JoeMad. I don't see the direct stylistic lines. Like I see those as guys who have like similar origins, but then broke off pretty early stylistically and evolved in such different directions that it just doesn't hit for me. I get the appeal. I can see how this would be kinetic and energetic and what you want in an action comic. But JoeMad just doesn't land for me the way that, some other artists, even like a Chris Bachalo or someone who, you're exactly right. They have a lot of the same stylistic influences. They are very similar artists. But one hits a lot closer for me than the other.
Yeah, JoeMad has a tendency to be much more cartoony, which, you're right, is a huge jump from like where JRJR was right before this, around the 300 era. So it's an interesting shift, but I think it also is cool because it's happening. The animated series is still around, and it fits, I think, what people wanted out of the book. This issue in particular is not like super interesting. So, why don't we plot it on our big giant list of how many stories we have now?
351.
Whoa.
It's so many. We have so many stories on our list. We've ranked them all from best to worst. If you're looking for something to read during the Rona times, start at the top or bottom of this list and just go down it. See what happens.
Sure. Absolutely.
You'll find something to be interested in any chunk of this list. Just find a chunk and go for it. It's fun. But, number one on this list, for example, is Dark Phoenix Saga. That's free on Marvel Unlimited over on that app. You can just go pick that up and read it. It's still good. Number 100 on this list is Captain America 367, that time that Magneto threw Red Skrull into a hole. Still good.
Still good.
Number 200 is X-Men number 27, A Song of Mourning, A Cry of Joy. That's the one with Threnody and Mr. Sinister.
Oh, right. Yep.
That one.
Or Legacy Virus stuff.
Yeah, Legacy Virus stuff. It's wild. Number 300 on our list is X-Men 157 to 160, Day of the Atom. That's the time when Cerebro went wild and made its own X-Men. And then the bottom of our list is the Draco at 351. It's bad. Don't think about it. Someone tried to tell me that the Chuck Austin run was better than Hoxpox, and they're absolutely so wildly wrong that it's not even funny on any sort of level. Look, if you're listening, I appreciate you, but your opinions are bad and you should feel bad.
We don't want to make anybody feel terrible, but that just is wrong.
But Zach just definitely did. Like this is right around that 200 issue for me. The Song of Mourning, A Cry for Joy.
Yeah. I like the art in this better than that particular issue, but we're in that, like, 199 above X-Men 27, we have Uncanny X-Men 300. We're, like, same era of X-Men, same quality of X-Men. This issue I don't think is really all that exciting, though.
Looking down just a little bit, we have another JoeMad story at 212, Uncanny 341 to 344.
Mm-hmm.
Where Cannonball fights Gladiator at Christmas, and then there's some forgettable space stuff.
Yeah, this is not as good as that. Below that, we have the Weapon X story we talked about recently, where Sabretooth hangs out with Omega Red and they get a tiger.
Yeah,
I don't think this is as good as that. Yeah.
Is this better or worse than that A+X story with Iron Fist and Dupe and Loki and Sinister?
I think we're in the right realm. We're around some Generation X stuff on the list. I think it's better than A+X number 5.
Okay.
I don't think it's as good as number 218. We have the Submergence of Japan from X-Men 118 to 119.
Okay, 219 has that time that Generation X went to a magical fairy world in Cassidy Keep, and I kind of like that better.
Yeah. All right, so maybe this is our new 220?
Yeah, this is 220, Joe, man. Don't be mad.
Don't be mad.
Look, he ain't gonna be mad. He's gonna be like, y'all, are you kidding? Sephiroth's around now. I get to play with him again. And, stop his wild, crazy plots. And you know what? I got my boy Cloud, and he's got a really big sword. Not many pockets, though. And not many pouches, like another character on this list who does have sword.
How do we even introduce what we're about to talk about? Because I don't think we've ever done a solo story about this character on this list. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Here's the thing, guys. I did a poll on Twitter that angered me so deeply and so profoundly that it's not even funny. A bunch of people think that Deadpool is an X-Men character. And that's wrong, which is going to mean that I have to explain this bit.
Oh, my God.
I'm laying this out.
Yeah,
Deadpool, obviously, introduced in New Mutants 98, was a bit X-Force character for a spell, showed up in a few issues, then goes off and does his own solo stuff for a bit in the Circle Chase, and then Deadpool Volume 2. Two 4-issue miniseries. Then gets into the Way run, or not Way, excuse me. Who am I thinking? Joe Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Gets into the Kelly run, and then he becomes his own thing in the same way that you wouldn't dare call T'Challa the Black Panther. You wouldn't call him a Fantastic Four character. You'd call him a Black Panther character because he's the Black Panther. Deadpool's Deadpool now. He's moved past it.
He's not an X-Man. He's not. However, this is a JoeMad episode, and what we're about to talk about is about as natural a progression. If you were going to talk about Deadpool as part of the X universe, you probably want to talk about JoeMad and Fabian Nicieza, friend of the show. My
personal best friend, Fabian Nicieza. Yes.
The Circle Chase. This stems like right out of what was going on during the Nicieza era of X-Force. So makes sense. Like, if we're going to talk about a Deadpool story, we might as well talk about this one. And I had read this back in the day, and
you were a Circle Chaser back in '93.
I remember sort of just not really thinking very much of this, and now I'm going back, and I gotta say, I enjoyed this.
Guys, this is Fabian Nicieza X-Force as hell.
Absolutely. Like, if you... Alright, so I think there's sort of this thing that if Joe Kelly didn't get his hands on what Deadpool was, that he wouldn't have turned into Deadpool. And, like, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like, the building blocks of the sort of sarcastic, wisecracking character weren't really there in his first couple of appearances that Liefeld was responsible for. Shots fired.
I mean,
what's
okay,
that?
I think the idea was there. It just wasn't fully
I'm
developed.
I'm saying they weren't there. They weren't there. If you go back and you look at what those appearances were that Liefeld actually worked on the character with, there's nothing really establishing who the character is or what his whole deal is. This miniseries...
Can I make an argument right here for Rob, guy I don't actually like?
All right, go ahead.
There is the foundation of a wisecracking, smartass, Spider-Man-like character in Deadpool's original appearances in New Mutants 98 and X-Force 2. What there isn't is this metatextual pop culture referencing guy that first Nicieza and then later Joe Kelly build up.
Right. Okay.
I think that's
fair.
the fine line that gets changed. And I think it's an important line because that's why Deadpool's insufferable to me now. But
I think what surprised me about this, though, was going back to it, like, he does feel like the character.
It's Deadpool.
He doesn't feel like sort of a beta test version of it. And what I enjoyed about this was that, like I said, this is stemming almost directly out of the Nicieza stuff that he was doing with Cable, Blood and Metal, X-Force, and it features all of this supporting cast as part of this extraordinarily silly story that has to do with Tolliver's will. And there's also a really good Black Tom and Juggernaut thing in here, which is fantastic.
Black Tom and Juggernaut love each other so much. It's so beautiful.
Much.
Juggernaut jumps out of a moving plane for him. Like, it's in the sky, and Juggernaut's like, no, that's my best friend. I love you. I can't live without you. It's not going to be worth it to have all this money if you're not with me.
It's great. Because the last time we saw them was after they brought down one of the Twin Towers.
Yeah, man, rough chuckles this episode, guys.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. And so we realize that Black Tom has been brought back with tree powers.
Yeah, he's Plant Boy now.
Yeah, Plant Boy. So what's the plot of this? I mean, it makes no sense. It's dumb.
Tolliver, who, as we all know, is Scott Summers' grandson. Tolliver is presumed dead. He's not. He'll get dead later. But Tolliver left a will that has $1 bajillion, and all of these mercenaries want it. So Deadpool goes after it. Black Tom Cassidy goes after it. Slayback goes after it. Vanessa, a.k.a. Copycat, goes after it. Garrison Kane goes after it. Sluggo, who's not lit, goes after it. The executive elite, including Comcast, go after it. It's a whole thing. And it turns out... Yeah, Comcast, they know what they're doing here because Deadpool makes jokes about it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's totally, they named him just to make that joke about, like, the cable guy being late.
Yeah,
and if you didn't recognize...
It's not money. It's Zero. You know Zero?
It's Zero. Yeah,
from
it's
the
Stripes.
Liberation Force.
You know, that guy that just has, like, a black zero on his white body? Like, that guy?
Very good. I do like Zero.
Oh, sure. Zero has some great stories, but yeah, this has got such a range of characters in it. And if you didn't recognize some of those names, that's because some of them are making their first appearance here.
And some of them are making their last appearance here.
Yeah. But, you know, like, what's really funny about this is, like, when Kane shows up, I'm like...
Garrison Kane.
Like, I'm kind of excited to see the stupid character Kane, because all they do is make fun of him. Nicieza knows how to use Kane.
The Nicieza knows Garrison Kane sucks.
Yeah.
And in between this and his Cable run, does so much where Garrison Kane is a character, but Garrison Kane is the dumbest guy that everyone makes fun of and thinks sucks so much. It's funny. It's good. Garrison Kane's a good character to have in a story. He's not a good character, but he's great to be around.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's a lot of fun here and gets teased quite a bit. We also get introduced to Weasel, I believe, for the first time.
Is this Weasel's first appearance?
I can't imagine it's not. Where else would he have appeared?
I don't know. I'm going to check the Marvel Wiki right now. Weasel's first appearance was in Cable number 3, actually.
Oh, okay. Forget I said that. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. This is early Weasel.
Yeah, early Weasel. Deep cut Weasel. We get to see Vanessa Copycat as herself for the first time. She kind of has light blue skin, red eyes. And this, unlike the story we just talked about, I feel like this series lets JoeMad do some much more JoeMad stuff. He is really flexing, and there's so many more fight scenes in this 4-issue mini that allow him to really just stretch his sort of animated style out into some really, really fun effects, I think.
I think JoeMad's style works for me a lot better. One, in a little bit more reserved like he is in this. I mean, this is still a comic that comes out in 1993 and it feels like it, but you get to see some of the JoeMad that a lot more people like shine through. Mm-hmm. And then additionally, I think with a character like Deadpool, you can make a more cartoony story in a more cartoony art style work really well. And that happens here. And that's neat. It's neat.
I mean, the story itself is rather dumb. I think we've mentioned that.
Fabian, love it. You can keep a plot moving. This is not a great one, buddy.
Well, it's very nonsensical. And, like, to get the actual will of Tolliver involves, like, multiple CD-ROMs that appear in multiple characters' briefcases. You have to put them together to get the final thing that leads you to the place where Zero is. And even what Zero is doing here doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense.
It doesn't,
especially,
no.
Yeah. But it is what it is. And I don't know. I had a lot of fun reading this. If you are a fan of the Nicieza Capullo run of X-Force, if you are a fan of like what he did with Cable and Blood and Metal, I think you should give this a shot. It's fun.
It's worth reading. This is when Deadpool was still an X-Men character, so I feel no objection to ranking this on our Big O Master list.
Not at all. So I don't really know what to compare this to. I mean, we have done a Cable and Deadpool story before.
Oh yeah, where is that?
I feel like it's not super high. Let me take a look
super
here.
high.
It's at 232. We have Cable and Deadpool 7 to 10, The Burnt Offering. I think this is a heck of a lot more fun than that.
It is. How do you feel about it compared to New Mutants Truth or Death?
I mean, I would revisit this before that. I mean,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, Truth or Death is fine. I didn't dislike it, but I don't know. I was surprised myself by how much I enjoyed this.
Let me ask you this. How do you like it compared to X-Men Ghost Rider Brood Trouble in the Big Easy? I'm sorry,
I don't think it's that good.
Brood Trouble in the Big Easy, right, Adam?
Stop it. Come on, man. Never live that down. I don't think it's that good. I mean, I don't think it's as good as a 184. We have the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man Wolverine crossover Perceptions. I don't think this is that good. Well, we have Cocaine down at 193. I think this is better than that. It's a little more cohesive. I can't believe I just said that. It's not cohesive at all.
It's fun,
but I think it's more fun than
those are both fun dumb stories, and I think this is a better fun dumb story.
I do too. I also think it's better than some other stuff that we have kind of in between here. Like I don't think it's as good as the original Gambit miniseries.
No,
but I do think it's better than that arc of X Factor we just did where they keep killing Madrox.
I think you're in the right territory.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm stuck at. At 198, you have the Neil Adams Savage Land arc. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at a picture right now of original art of Glob Herman getting taken away by Sauron, and I'm thinking how much I love Sauron's original appearance compared to this. So that one's tough for me.
Right. Okay, so that's your ceiling?
I think that's my ceiling. And the problem is right below it, you got Uncanny X-Men 391 Dad, which is a Scott Lobdell Feelings story.
Sure.
And then you got X-Men 39, where Adam X the Extreme goes camping, which is a Feminiciesa Feelings story.
I think this is better than both of those. Personally. I would put this as our new 190.
Okay, you heard it here, folks. Deadpool better than Adam X the Extreme. A controversial statement, I know.
Yeah, I'm more surprised than anybody, honestly. Like, I was not anticipating enjoying this as much as I did, but knowing that I like that era of Nisieza's stuff with this supporting cast, if you've never checked it out because you're anti-Deadpool, I'm usually pretty anti-Deadpool. Check this out. We got
the second mini's better, by the way. The second Deadpool miniseries.
Yeah,
it's actually a lot better, and I like it more.
I gotta check that out now. Never read it.
Mark Waid writes it. I forget who draws that one. It's pretty good, actually. Siren's in it. I think Banshee's in that one. Is it weird? Okay, is it weird how much the Deadpool movies directly pull from the Circle Chase, like characters and concepts? They're like, oh yeah, the Circle Chase. That's what Deadpool is.
Yeah. Well, they went back to the source material. All right, where are we going next? Because this is an interesting one. It's much more contemporary, JoeMad.
This is JoeMad needed some money and came back to comics for a fix and did a 3-issue run on Savage Wolverine with Zeb Wells, a guy who wrote Hellions. And if you haven't read Hellions, go check it out. There's only one issue out, and since comics don't exist anymore, it's pretty easy to get caught up.
Number one collector's item. Well, Savage Wolverine was designed specifically to be sort of an artist showcase. So each arc of it really doesn't have to fit into anything like continuity-wise or anything like that.
This one specifically says, hey, this takes place before the books that came out in October. Don't worry about it.
Right, don't worry about it. So the first arc of Savage Wolverine is a beautiful-looking Savage Land story by Frank Cho. And, not everybody's favorite human.
Look, the art's pretty in it. The art is pretty in it.
The art is gorgeous.
Argue it.
So Zeb Wells and JoeMad come along and tell a story that is more of an Elektra story than anything else, right?
What's kind of weird about this is Savage Wolverine was such an artist showcase that they, in fact, had the artist write every issue of the rest of the series, except for this arc, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think this is the only one, because Jock does
the next one, yeah. Richard Eisenoff does the one. Richard Eisenoff does one that's really good. Who else does some? Frank Chow. I guess Frank Thierry scripts over Felix Ruiz. So not perfectly, but it was intended to be a artist showcase. And in fact, they tried to do the same thing with Savage Hulk. Around the same time, I know there was an Alan Davis thing that was going on. A few other guys that was really interesting. This is more interesting in concept than it is in execution, which I think is important.
Well, it looks really good. JoeMad has evolved as an artist since the Circle Chase, let's say. I mean, the amount of detail, the physical aggression that he's able to throw into these scenes is, I think it's fantastic. I mean, the story here is very light. The idea is that Elektra has come back from the dead. There is an ongoing story about who controls the hand. And there are these villains known as the Arbiters who are kind of judging, who gets to be in charge. And they're kind of like these Guillermo del Toro type creations, which is interesting.
Kind of. I think they're less Guillermo del Toro creations.
More anime.
And more that I think it's more that Guillermo and JoeMad draw from the same Japanese influences.
Yeah.
On a lot of these. So you got Kinji the Faceless, Mikaru the Blind, and Shikaru the Mute.
Yeah, Shikaru the Mute is kind of like he's got finger bones as a face mask. There's like the faceless one is has a little geisha mask, and then the blind one has like the hands over the eyes, the skeleton fingers over the eyes. So anyway, I mean, it's much more like Wolverine's just tagging along with Elektra. Kingpin is being haunted by Vanessa.
Yeah, they think Bullseye's back, and Bullseye's not actually back. The Hand resurrected the Kingpin's wife, Vanessa, so that she would try and murder him, and then Kingpin would have to murder his wife so that they could prove that he would be a heartless enough leader of the Hand. Which is all really specific, and then he becomes mayor of New York a few years later, so wild that's how the Marvel Universe works. He could literally kill somebody on 5th Street and no one would bat an eye.
Yeah. The artwork here is incredible. I really love the detail that Mad is bringing here.
I like
to every
the detail.
single page.
What I don't love is the coloring on this. I think it's
very
a little
dark.
muddy and a little dark. Yeah, because JoeMad's style, especially at this point, has gotten a lot inkier and a lot more like fluid with the inks. In that, like it almost feels like a Japanese style like ink brush painting, like almost like the same style that you get with like the game Okami. If you've ever played that, which was very much
Love
about these
Okami.
flowy lines and all this stuff. You get a lot of that in there, which means heavy blacks and heavy lines, which is great, except for the darkness in the rest of the coloring blends in with that, which makes it a muddled scene to be looking at. I'd love to see just the inks on this. Like, I think that would be fantastic. I think the colors really take away from the actual art on this.
I think that's fair. I mean, a great deal of the book is told at night. It's told in sort of dark underground caverns, and you can see the colorist doing, who does the colors on this? It
is Peter Sigerwald.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it's colored poorly. I just think it is. I'm going to agree with you that it is a darker book than it necessarily needs to be. It could be brighter to really make the artwork shine. But if you are a fan of JoeMad, I mean, you gotta check these issues out. It's just 3. And it's, even if you're like a Daredevil fan, Elektra fan, like this is just Wolverine tagging along and just fighting some weird random bad guys. It's fun. It's light.
Real talk. I think the best part of this story is the bookends with Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Yeah, there's a couple little. They're both on the Avengers at this point, and
the new Avengers.
They kind of make it look like it's not going so well, which is great. But I love when Spider-Man and Logan interact in fun and silly ways.
Zeb Wells wrote a lot of Spider-Man, and he was pretty good at it, and it shows here. Like,
oh yeah, he gets it.
Here's what this didn't make me want to do. This didn't make me want to go and look at JoeMad's next published comic work, which was the first 3 issues of Inhuman. It did make me want to go check out the Zeb Wells stuff on Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look at JoeMad's stuff wherever he goes. I think it's really interesting.
Okay, wait, you're gonna look at the stuff with Lash? Character from Marvel's The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Lash in Inhuman? And the character Dante, codename Inferno, who has fire powers?
No, probably not. But, I would look at it. I think it's much more fun having him draw these characters. He's probably having more fun drawing these characters, too.
He probably was. The Inhuman thing was just a giant friggin' wreck. Just not even talking about the X-Men side of things on that, just the way that the Inhumans books were rolled out. friggin' Matt Fraction made some dick jokes that got him banned from iTunes, and then he said, wait, I'm getting a lot of good press. I don't need this. And anyway, you guys just fired me from this book. So...
All right. We have ranked Savage Wolverine before on our list. Down at 247, we have the Come Conquer the Beasts arc, 12 and 13, which was sort of an animal rights story about poaching. I think this is better. I think this is better than that.
I think this is right about on par with that.
Yeah.
I think it's right
I mean,
there.
right above
Here's
it
where
is
I'm looking at.
X-Campus.
This is better than X-Campus, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think I can put it above Extinction Agenda at 245, though. I mean, those at the very least have some of the most amazing Jim Lee pages, despite all of its, its weaknesses.
All the also bad that's in there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of bad in Extinction Agenda for sure.
Extinction Agenda is just a slog.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, 246. That's the right spot for it. It's
perfect. I love it. All right, so we've been on a journey with JoeMad, and that was pretty fun.
That was fun. JoeMad's an interesting guy. I will check out the stuff that he does because I'm interested in it. I don't know if it's going to be good, but JoeMad's an interesting character, and I really hope that he does enjoy getting to hang back out with Barrett and Aerith and, all of his good friends like Tifa and Biggs and just all those Final Fantasy guys as they just go up against that Shinra Corporation and they're like, hey, Reno and Rude, you guys suck. Double birds.
And for the record, I mean, if JoeMad wants to take a break from a Twitch stream to kind of like just come on and talk for a couple of minutes, we'd love to.
JoeMad, I will let Adam talk to you about art, and then I will make fun of Final Fantasy VII, a game that I do have on my Nintendo Switch.
That's great.
Because I do enjoy it. That's why I know who some of those guys are. Still never beaten it. Have gotten to the point where, spoiler alert for this game, apparently. I don't want to... Adam, do you know the thing that happens in Final Fantasy VII that's considered a spoiler?
Look, I don't care.
That's probably fair. The game's very old. Spoiler alert for this old new game. Aerith will die. She's going to get stabbed through the gullet, and you're going to get very sad about that. And Sephiroth's going to use his real big sword and be like, boop, you dead. But there's nothing you can do about it. In JoeMad, you get to relive that trauma again. And I really hope it goes well for you.
Oh, boy. All right.
Jeez. Final Fantasy VII's bad, and I love it.
I don't know. It's one of the most classic video games of all time. So obviously people like it.
People argue if it's even the most classic of Final Fantasy games. It's definitely the most popular. And Cloud is a Final Fantasy character who is in Smash Bros. And I do enjoy playing as him because he goes like, yeah. And then he talks in Japanese because they did not want to pay for an English voice actor. I assume there's some rights issues with it that, Sakurai did not want to deal with.
See, Super Smash is pro subtitles. I appreciate that. That's good.
No, because they got rid of them for Marth and Roy. They got rid of them for my Fire Emblem boys that I've been playing as since 2001.
All right, forget I said that.
Yeah, you should forget you said it. Nite. That's what.
So Zach, if somebody had a really great idea for what we should do for an episode, what should they do?
They should go over to patreon.com/newspaperfiles. Search for that Battle of the Atom, boys. We're right there. At the $2 a month level, you get an episode. We'll do one. It's for you, just like Chris did, just like some of our other supporters. Let's just look at this list right now. Hyper Viper 89 has some. John Wickman, he's a good guy. Soul Reaver Dan, fabulous. Nier, you're great. Eric Cotton. He's back, and he's on top of things. Those are some of the great people that support us on Patreon, and if you want to be like them, go over to that website. Guys, here's the truth. Right now, there is legitimately a lot of terrible stuff going on, and some of us are coping by drinking and talking about X-Men, and some of us just don't have the funds to get through it because, unemployment's crazy, and you can't leave your house, and it sucks. So don't actually feel any pressure to support us. We're always here. And in fact, right now, we are working with some people right now to see how our Patreon support can best help the people in our comics community that have been most directly impacted by this. I don't want to throw out too many details because it's still a work in process. But I will say at least 2 months of our Patreon support will be going directly to people in the comics community who have been just hit hard by some of the stuff that's been going on with the coronavirus crisis. And I only say that to ask you to think about if there's anything that, if you're able to, that you can do to help out people. And as we get some more details on that, we're definitely going to present that on the show because we've got a killer community here. Like, I am constantly just overwhelmed by how cool it is that we have a bunch of people that listen to this show and then are just also friends and cool and chill on the internet and a great place to be.
Yeah, it's great.
So if there's anything you can do to help, let's think on that right now.
Yes.
And if you can't, you know what? We're all in this together. Don't sweat it. You've got to take care of you.
Absolutely.
So, that's where we're at right now. You get other fun rewards if you give more money. That feels inappropriate to say at this point.
Does it?
That feels weird. I don't know. Maybe if you all want to support more, you get more things like early episodes. You get to help choose some of the B and C stories that fill out the rest of our episodes. It's a whole thing. You can also check out all the cool writing when comics exist again on XavierFiles.com. We turned it into an Animal Crossing website for a little bit. I don't know if anything's going up this week. It's wild. But also Xavier Files on Twitter at Xavier Files. It's a place with things. Adam, please save me from this.
No, you're doing a great job. Guys,
I don't like being sincere. I don't know how we haven't picked up on this. I like being the goofball. You can be the good dad adult in this situation. I want to be the Iceman running around making jokes.
Well, next time I'll take the sincere route for the conclusion of the show. Guys, you can always follow me at Arthur Stacy. I do have a short piece going up for WMQ Comics. Is doing their coronavirus advent calendar, which means that they're doing a month of comics articles, and I did one. So if you want to check that out, you can go to WMQcomics.com, and I'm sure I'm there somewhere. I don't know what day it's coming out. So that's what's going on with me. And what are we doing next week, Zach?
Next week, we're going to talk about, you know him, you love him. His name's Franklin Richards.
Aww.
He's a little moppet. Tangentially related to the X-Men, more related to the Fantastic Four, his family. Mm-hmm. I'm just kidding. When he wants to go to Krakoa, his family will be waiting for him. Booyah. But until then, guys, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Get it!